Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm going to give this thing a couple seconds to get going. Hey Kevin, thanks for joining me. You are first. You're the first and only one so far. Let me know that you're able to hear me right now. Just want to make sure everything's set up okay. Right on, thanks. I don't know if this is somewhere in life. Sorry, man. Yeah, I can see that. I think my connection is not what it should be. I'm not sure what's going on with it right now. Why the camera looks pretty bad. Hopefully that clears up here in a minute. All right, so tonight, what I wanted to do was come on here and just talk with you guys a little bit about this upcoming trip that I've got going on. I've got this trip that we've been planning now for a couple of months. I haven't talked a whole lot about it. I have mentioned a couple of times where we're going and who's going, but we haven't really shared a ton of the details about it, and we've kind of kept it close to just the four of us that are going, just so that it wasn't something where other people decided to join in. This is kind of our thing, and not trying to diss anybody out there, but we wanted it to just be us out there doing this. So, as I've said before, and as the title of this would suggest, we're headed to the White Mountains up in New Hampshire. We are doing the Appalachian Trail starting at about 25A. I can't think of what the, I believe it's around mile 1780 or somewhere right in that area is where we'll be starting, and then we're going for about 110 miles up through all of the Whites, through the Wildcats, Carter's Dome, and then getting off and heading up to Gorham, New Hampshire. So, gonna be quite a good time. So right now it is Sherpa Man, Beekeeper, and Sir Pax-a-Lot, aka Whip Snake, that'll be going. But Whip Snake is jumping off 6 days in. So on the sixth day, he's jumping off. I can't remember which notch, but at one of the notches, he'll get to do a lot of the really good stuff. But he's jumping off right before we go up into the presidentials. So he'll be on for Moosalak, a whole bunch of other really good ones. But he jumps off right before Washington, Adams, all of those, Madison, all the dead presidents. So that kind of sucks that he won't be able to be there for the whole thing. And I was talking with Sherpa Man, and we are throwing around the idea of not doing a true, pure AT hike on this one. And when we get there on day 7, kind of switching it up a little bit and going for all of the presidential peaks and doing a presidential traverse, which really the way it works, the Appalachian Trail goes right by, I think, 4 or 5 of the peaks, and a small detour will get you up onto the peaks. So that's what we're we're kind of thinking about doing at this point. Everyone seems to be up for it and seems to think it'll be a good idea. So that's what we're going to try. We'll see how it works out. And really, that's going to be probably one of the most epic days. You're up above tree line. There's really no ground cover or anything like that. It's all rocks. It's rocky, exposed, open. But those are the peaks where you've got a 360 view from each one of the peaks, and that's probably the day that I'm looking the most forward to. So we've tried to keep our days in between 7 and 12 miles, but that one, because of the fact that we're doing hammocks and we don't want to stay at any of the huts, it's going to be a longer day. It's going to be about 14 and a half, 15 miles, something along those lines, depending on where we stay the night before and where we make it to that night. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to get up there. The one thing that we have to kind of see how it plays out is the weather. So Mount Washington is known for being probably the worst weather on the face of the earth. Up until, I think it was 2013, it held the land speed record for wind, the highest recorded wind gust, like 238 miles an hour, or something in that neighborhood, was recorded at the summit of Mount Washington. That has since been replaced by a tornado that went through Moore, Oklahoma, which is only really 15 or so miles from where I'm at right now. So really, we've got to watch the weather. We've got to watch and see what's going on. I really want to have a nice day to get up there where there's not, it's not all shrouded in clouds, and we get to have some decent views and really get some good video up there. That's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to. So what questions do you guys have for the Whites trip that I've got coming up? I know there have been some questions about what gear I was going to be taking, and I was planning on doing a gear video prior to going, but I've got some last minute gear testing that's going to be going on, some stuff that's being sent to me that I'm going to take out on the trail with me and share with everybody out there. And I don't want to spoil that yet and tell you guys exactly what it is. So we're going to keep that kind of to ourselves for right now. But I did tell a couple people that I would share what stove system I was using, and so the stove that I'm planning on using is going to be, or the system is going to be the Toaks 550 Lite for the pot, the Caldera Cone, and the Mini Atomic. So the reason that I'm going with that one, I've kind of gone back and forth. Anybody who's been watching on here or seen any of the Facebook posts knows that I've been doing a lot of gear testing out a lot of the different stoves, seeing how they perform. And so what got me to this one was using this setup, actually using a few different setups. I paired them up and brought them outside with a little bit of a windy day. And most of the Packet Gourmet meals that I'm going to be using are 12 ounces or less of boiling water. And so I went with 12 ounces as kind of the benchmark, and then just kind of determined how much fuel I was going to need to do that 12 ounces in each of the stoves, and kind of how quick they worked. So the only one that was able to do 12 ounces in that amount of time, or do 12 ounces on a half ounce of fuel, was the Mini Atomic. The regular Atomic inside was able to do it, but once I came outside, it took just a little bit more, and I'm not exactly sure why that was, but that was with the Caldera Cone on both of them, so that's just kind of what I came up with. So that system is, I don't know, a little under 3 ounces, I believe, and I will probably take, the longest section that we have is 4 days between car stops. So what we're doing is both Sherpa Man and Whipsnake are going to be bringing up cars, and so they'll be dropping them at different spots. And so that's how we're doing our food drops, is we're going to do some flip-flopping of cars. So on those days where we cross the notches, we're going to be swapping out cars, and so we'll have a couple hours off trail, and at that point we're going to go ahead and resupply so that we're not carrying 10 days of food throughout this whole thing. We want to go as light as possible just because this is an extremely strenuous trip that we're going to be doing. I don't know if you guys have watched any videos of that area, but it's almost rock climbing in a lot of areas. Very, very steep, all on rocks. Uh, there's areas that make Pennsylvania look kind of tame. Once you get up over Mount Washington and going between some of the summits up there along the ridge, it's pretty precarious. There's lots of moving rocks, and it's just a boulder field that you're kind of hopping over. So we've got that. So we're going to be doing the car swaps, and we're going to be picking up food and refueling there. So I'm only going to bring a 5-ounce fuel bottle with me because the longest stretch we have is 4 days. So special training for this trip, yeah, dude. I've been hitting the gym pretty good. The treadmill at work will go up to a 15% incline, so I've been cranking it up to 15% and doing as much time on it as I can. When it starts to burn too much, I bring it back down to 5%, crank up the speed a little bit, kind of walk it out, and then go up to 15 once I've kind of gotten my heart rate back under control. Then around here, what I've been doing is I've been getting up early. I've been throwing 35 pounds on my back. I really anticipate only carrying about 20, 25 at the very most out on this trip. So I'm throwing 35 pounds on my back and doing some hikes, some local hikes here around the park right here. Pretty much all on pavement, but it's got a couple of little hills. Just carrying the pack around as much as possible, and then I'm doing it again at night after dinner. So after I get done filming this, I'll head out and throw the pack on and go get some miles in. I've been getting about 7 to 9 miles a day, depending on whether or not I'm getting the treadmill in as well. So what am I filming with on this trip? So I'm kind of going back and forth on if I'm going to take 2 or 3 cameras with me. I will definitely have my new Sony A5100 and probably just the GoPro Hero 5, but I may take my 3 Plus as well just for some of those scenery shots. Sometimes it actually does a little bit better job than the 5 does of capturing some of that stuff and doing time lapses and things like that. But I really do like that Sony. That Sony works really well, has a great picture, and so that one's going to be my primary camera. But on those days when it's raining, which I'm sure there will be if you look at the 10-day forecast for up in the Mount Washington area right now, about a third of the days have thunderstorms going on. So I figure there's going to be some days where I'm going to need to use the GoPro in place of the Sony because the Sony's not waterproof, water resistant, anything like that. So when the weather gets bad, I'm going to swap it out. Hey, SMK, what's going on, man? All right, next one. Do I expect lots of water resupply opportunities? Yeah, I've got the Gut Hook app. So that's something that if you're ever doing a section of the Appalachian Trail, the AT, or PCT, CDT, Colorado Trail, Arizona Trail, a bunch of the different trails out there, they've got the Gut Hook app has maps and guides for. So I got it for this section that we're doing, and the cool thing about it is that it lists all of the water supply points, and along with that, people can go in and give recent comments. So I can go in there and see what the latest comments are. And a couple of them people have put in, hey, just a trickle right now. Other ones they put in, hey, flowing great. So I know where we need to be to supply. We're making sure that we sleep near water every night. And then because the AMC, the Appalachian Mountain Club, has the hut system up there, we don't plan on using the huts. Those huts are about 110 to 150 bucks a night. So we're not going to use the hut system. But you can stop at the huts during the day, get the weather forecast. You can get baked goods, coffee, some Kool-Aid, and also water. So you can resupply your water at the huts. So that's kind of what we're thinking about doing. And then also up on top of Mount Washington, there's the actual snack shop, the visitor center up there, which has food. So that's kind of where we're gonna go with it. And if we time it right, we'll be good. If we don't time it right, we may have to wait around. Yeah, the Gut Hook app has been awesome. It's one of those things that I'm glad I paid the money for. It's like $9 a section, or if you want to do the whole trail, it's, I don't know, $35, $50. I don't know. I just downloaded the one section I needed, and it should work out really well. Yeah, it's been warm here. It's currently about 90 degrees, but I'm in the shade. There's a little bit of a breeze tonight, so it's not too bad. You know, it's been it's been hot everywhere. It's kind of funny. I pulled up the forecast for the Mount Washington area, just using that as a guide. Since I'm talking like 50 miles on either side of that for this trip, that's a pretty good generalization of what the weather will be. We've got highs in the 70s, 80s, and then lows, depending on the night and where I'm looking at, down as low as I've seen 38. So uh, I'm going to be prepared for that. But I thought it was funny. I pulled up the weather, and it had very hot. It said very hot. There was a sun with a cactus, and it was 83 degrees. It's just the different areas and what's considered hot and what's considered very hot. I checked here, and we had like 96 degrees, and it was just the sun. It just said hot. Didn't say very hot, nothing like that. It was just kind of funny seeing how the different areas consider different things. 300 miles north of the Whites, and it was 94 today. Wow, dude. I'm hoping it's not 94 while we're up climbing that stuff. I know the humidity is a little bit higher there than it is here, and I really don't want to get up into that area and be sweaty and hot and miserable. Um, I'm really kind of looking forward to 70s and 80s with a little bit cooler nights. I'm going to be using testing out some new quilts, testing out a new hammock. So I've got a lot of stuff kind of going. Um, so I'm looking forward to it. Are bears a problem in the Whites? Will you carry bear spray or a firearm? So I have hiked in a lot of areas where bears are very bad. I've seen bears. I've had, if you've watched some of these episodes or listened to some of the podcasts I've been on, the Hike Your Own Hike or the Backpacking in Blisters, uh, I've talked about a story once where Sir Paxalot and I, or Whipsnake, and I were out in the Mammoth area out near Ansel Adams Wilderness in California, and we had a bear take his backpack and shred it. Uh, but I've hiked in a lot of areas where there's bears and there's bear problems, and I've never once carried anything to deter bears or to protect myself. I think as long as you really take care of hygiene, don't eat where you're camping, don't bring food into your tent or hammock or whatever your shelter system is, and just kind of follow the guidelines. There's somebody probably out there that's stupider than you that the bear's going to go after. As far as bears out on the trail, just give them a wide berth. If you come upon, my wife and I came upon a bear cub up in California, and we just kind of hung back. We sat down on a log, kind of let it do its thing, and it kind of wandered off. We weren't sure where the mom was, and that's the part that scares you when you see a cub, is where is mama bear? Because you do not want to get yourself between the cub and the mother. So, I think just pay attention to what's going on. Follow a little bit of simple common sense. Hang your bag, hang your food at night. Really, it's not just your food, it's anything with any scent. So if you use baby wipes, if you've got toothpaste, if you've got deodorant or something like that, I know not a lot of people carry deodorant, but some people do. And I apologize about the dogs. I'm out here in the backyard and across the pond. Two of the families have their dogs out, and every time a person walks by, they start barking at them. I've got my dogs inside so that they wouldn't be bothering me, but got that going on over there. But anyway, so SMK 109 degrees, that just doesn't sound like fun. Yeah, I think the real feel here today was like 102, which is enough. Uh, yeah, I think anything 85 or higher while you're out hiking, especially if the humidity is anything above 50%, really, it starts to get pretty crappy. Um, it's just hot, it's miserable. In those situations, like those guys that are out doing PCT, CDT, going through some of the desert areas, you'll find that they do a lot of real early hiking or real late hiking, and some of them even set up their tents, create a little bit of shade, and hang out during the day, and don't get out there. So Restless One is saying the amount of stoves you bring on your hike is enough to scare away the bears. Uh, so Mrs. Restless One said I should go with the wood stove, and I decided to go with the mini atomic alcohol stove. I went back and forth a lot on what stove I was going to take on this one. I really like stoves. I go back and forth all the time. I had been playing with that little gnome, the little mini bowl design gnome. Um, I really like that one, and I wanted to take it on this one, but I decided not to because it actually was just short of coming to a boil with 12 ounces on half an ounce of fuel, whereas the mini atomic did get it to a boil. But I went back and forth. I'm still, I've made a decision, but is it my final decision? I don't know. I've got some, yeah, I may have ordered some stuff today, and I may have some stuff coming in that I may be testing out along with it. So, it's a sickness. It is a sickness. If I ever tried or made a video on Esbit tab stoves, so I have used Esbit stoves in the past, a long time ago, back when I was in California and I was playing around with lightweight stuff. I bought one of those little titanium folding Esbit stoves, and I think the problem that I had was I was not using the actual Esbit brand. Because of being in the military at the time, I had access to and got a bunch of the trioxane tabs, which the military used, and they just didn't burn well. They left a really bad tar almost on the bottom of my pots, and I just really didn't like them. And so that's when I got the first MSR Pocket Rocket and started using that and loved it. Canisters are super convenient, real easy to use, foolproof. They've got an on and off, and a lot of times out in California, where I was living at the time, they have burn bans, and you're not allowed to use anything if it doesn't have an on and off. So that's kind of the way that we decided we were going with that. So as far as Esbit goes, I haven't used one in years, probably 15 years since I burned the last Esbit tab or trioxane fuel tab. But it is lightweight, and it is something that, as an emergency backup, is something that I've considered. A lot of the little companies out there make just little tab holders that you can put them in, as long as you're using something that holds the pot up, like I do with the Caldera cone. So, could be something I look at doing in the future. Alcohols just work. Yeah, alcohol does just work. I like it. It's quiet. You aren't waking anybody up. It doesn't sound like you've got a blowtorch or a jet engine going. It's just kind of cool. So Miss Restless One is a pyro. So that's cool. I'm not gonna knock that. Am I taking a backup in the car in case you want to trade out mid hike? So since you mentioned that, I will say that I am actually taking backups of several things, possibly a couple of different hammock setups, maybe some extra quilts, just to maybe swap out if I want to, some different clothes. I think right now I've got 5, 6, maybe 7 different new pieces of gear that are going with me, things that I will be testing, that people are sending me to go test. I think all of the stuff that's being sent to me to test is all stuff that I'm going to test for this trip and then send back to them. It's not stuff that I'll be keeping. That's a misconception a lot of people have, is that the gear that I have is stuff that was given to me. And I'll be honest, most of the stuff that I have is stuff I personally bought, um, and a lot of the stuff that I test gets sent back. So, and that's kind of something that I've worked out with a lot of the vendors, is that, I'm not in it to get the free gear. I'm not in it to try and rip anybody off or be that guy. You know, I don't mind testing stuff. I like testing stuff. I like playing with new gear. And with a few of them, I've actually tested the gear out and then gone back to them and said, "Hey, I really like this. Would you mind selling it to me?" And then, sometimes I'll get it at a discount, but other times I'm paying full price just like everybody else. And that's what it is. So yeah, I have thought about and may take some backups with me. I may actually start off with something different than what I'm saying, and then switch to that for once we get up into the really rocky, exposed areas where I'm going to be worn out. So that's the thing, is I've thought about taking the wood stove, but that one takes a little bit longer to prep, to get ready. Yeah, you don't have to carry the fuel with you, but you have to find the fuel once you get to camp. So it takes a little bit of time scouring the area, finding the sticks, breaking them up to the right size, getting it lit, getting it going. It just takes longer. And I don't know, with how bad this terrain is, or how difficult this terrain is, I don't know that I want to take the time to do that every night. So, just something something to yeah, that's how it's gonna be. Yeah, SMK, I've never used. I don't know that I've used many, if any, of the Esbit brand ones. I've heard people say that they aren't that dirty, but I know the ones that I had were really bad. Had like a sticky tar almost to the bottom. Let's see. Temperature ranges. So lowest I've seen on the forecast is about 38 degrees for the low, and the highest I've seen is like 87. But I think the majority of the nights will be around 55, and the majority of the days will be in the low 70s. So to me, that's going to be awesome, awesome hiking and sleeping weather. I am bringing a little bit cooler. I'm going with a 40 degree that's been overstuffed for the underquilt. That'll probably get me down to 32 pretty comfortably. I would rather have something a little bit warmer when it's necessary that I can vent, put it on there a little bit looser, and then I'm going with just a standard 40 degree for the top quilt. But I may take my 50 degree just as something else to pack out. Ever consider cold soak? Oh, and going back to the temperature ranges, uh, there have been times in July where up on top of Washington and that whole range right there, it has been below freezing, snowing, blizzard conditions. Um, so we need to be ready for that. And so I'll have my puffy with me just as a backup. And I'm actually testing another outer garment that you guys will get to check out on this. A friend of mine, he's kind of started a cool company, very sustainable and cool, and I want to kind of help him promote that. So that's another one that I'll be testing out and then handing back when we're done. All right, cold soaking. So I try and go ultralight, and I know a lot of people say, well, you aren't going to be carrying a stove with you, but in order to truly cold soak, you are usually carrying for several hours a jar or a canister with your food and water in it. So it's like you've kind of negated the fact that you're bringing freeze dried or dehydrated food with you because you've now got to soak it. Um, I think the biggest reason for me that I will probably never go cold soaking. I did consider doing a trip, like a 3 or a 4 day trip, and only doing cold prep bars or cold soaking. But the thing that keeps getting me away from that is I like coffee. I like coffee in the morning, and I'm actually doing a different kind of coffee on this trip. I've heard a lot of people talk about these G7s. They're a Vietnamese coffee. The Medaglia d'Oro, it's all right. It's not my favorite. The Vias, they'll work in a pinch. If you're talking about any of the Folgers or Taster's Choice, uh, those things are crap. Those things are horrible. I watched a video the other night where they were going through, I think, the top 10 different instant coffees out there, and there's a bunch of cubes out now. And Syntax just had some sent to him on his last mail call video. He got some, I think they were like Jiva or something along those lines. I'd never heard of them before. I looked them up. They've got pretty good reviews, but there were some other ones that got brought up in this video that I was watching. But they're expensive. They're really expensive. They're like $2 to $4 a cup. So I went with these G7s. Not normally what I would go with, but so the thing with those is that they are not only the coffee, they're also a creamer and a sugar already combined. I usually go black on my coffee, but given that I will need some extra calories while I'm out there, I'm up for it. Let's give it a try. I'll let you guys know kind of what it looks like. So yeah, finding dry wood can be difficult and slow. It rains a lot up there. You get a lot of muggy or muddy, boggy areas, and so the hammock works really well because it gets you off the ground. But as far as using a wood stove up there, it can be difficult, and that's what several people have mentioned to me, and that's why if I was going to do the wood stove, I would also take either the atomic or the mini atomic that can go inside of my wood stove and supplement it for those nights that I just can't do it. Yeah, cold soaking, for me just doesn't really it's not that appetizing, not that appealing. So Via with cocoa is the bomb. Yeah, even Medaglia d'Oro with like some really good cocoa, hot chocolate can be damn good. I mean, ridiculously good. Actually, one of the videos I just did out here not that long ago in the woods, I was sitting in the hatchling, and I think I was doing like a cook kit review or something, and I bought it. Or I brought out some Medaglia d'Oro and some hot chocolate and made that up. It was delicious, absolutely great. That combination it's a winner. It's a winner every time. The Jiva, bit sweet. So the Jiva actually had like I think 4 or 5 different flavors. So they've got like hazelnut, vanilla, black, and then sweetened. So I think if you go with the black, maybe that'll be a little bit less sweet. But I think I actually remember the people that were reviewing it on this other one said that even the black had like a maybe a brown sugar or something in it, something a little bit different. But we'll see. You got some Jivas, SMK? Yeah, dude, I'll try them out. I'll throw them up on here and let people see what I think. Thought they tasted weird. Well, I'm hoping that the G7s aren't bad. I bought quite a few of them. I think I bought 15 of them for the 10 days. Plus, I've got a brand new jar of Medaglia d'Oro that I'll throw into a bag, and I think I've got a few leftover Vias. Maybe I'll throw a couple of hot chocolates in there with me, and every few days have sort of a homemade mocha type deal out there. Having that sweetness in the morning to get you going is always a good, fun thing. So it's getting a little crazy in here. Backcountry exposure, Devin coming in and just yelling and screaming, and I've got these flies all over me. I hate flies. So that's another thing we'll be dealing with out there, and so I'm taking a couple. Like I said, I may have a couple of different hammocks out there with me, but they will be full zip bug nets. So new to backpacking, or new not new to backpacking, but new to hammocking is Whipsnake, and so he's going to be using my Warbonnet Blackbird XLC. So he's going to be taking that one. I sent it out to him. I think he set it up this weekend. Got it kind of figured out where it needs to be. So we're setting him up. Beekeeper sent him a tarp, and you guys have heard me talk about it. The last big trip we did together, he showed up with like 65 pounds on his back. Had an okay time, but could have definitely had a better time had he been better prepared and not carrying so much weight. So we kind of teamed up on this one, and we all sent him lightweight gear: backpack, hammock, suspension, tarp, ridge line. Just kind of got it all. Under quilt and top quilt. So we've got him set up for this trip. He's going to be going nice and light. I think he'll probably, with food, be under 25 pounds. So 65 to 25, huge improvement. And I think it's going to really be a lot more fun for him, a lot more enjoyable to be out there and be able to walk and not have that burden on his back. So James doesn't mind the cold soaking, hot teas and evening meals. So for lunches, cold's not bad. I'm actually taking a lot of the Packet Gourmet. So actually, let's talk about food for a minute for this Whites trip. You guys saw we placed a huge Packet Gourmet order. Got a ton of stuff from, the happy hour. So the first night we'll have chips and the dips and margaritas. And then I've got a bunch of the meals, the dinners, the ones that I really like. For lunches, I did a lot of the chicken salads. So they've got like 4 different chicken salads on the Packet Gourmet website. They can be done hot or cold. Throw them into a tortilla, and you've got a great lunch. But the cool thing is they can be done cold. So you could cold soak those, throw the water in, hike another, 15, 20 minutes, pull it out, throw it in a tortilla, spend 10 minutes eating it, and be done. So I've got that going. But you guys have also seen me do some of the paleo meals to go stuff. I just did a review on that. And one of the owners of that company actually reached out to me today, and they're sending me a couple of meals because they've changed it. They've kind of updated things, and they're going to be releasing new meals that are seasoned a little bit better. And so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to take those out with me and give those a try and see how that works out. Patrick, I'm glad you get something out of this. I appreciate you tuning in, checking this out. And if you've got any comments, any questions, go ahead and throw them out there, and we'll talk about them. And I'm trying to help out as much as I can in the community. Oh, come on, man. Hardcore hammock users switching to tents. I don't know. It's not for everybody. I've said that before. I said that on the backpacking and blisters thing. Depending on where you live, it's not always the most convenient. Depending on if you know how to set it up, if you're using the right stuff, if you bought crappy equipment, if you're using an Eno, you may not like hammock camping. But I think for me, it's the way I'm gonna go. I've never slept better out on the trail. I get more comfortable. I find that you can, if you're in an area with sufficient trees, you have a better selection of campsites. You don't have to find a place that's not rocky. You don't have to find a place that's got a flat spot to lay your tarp or your tent down. So for me, it's gonna be the hammock. But yeah, I think for a lot of people, the hammock thing is here, and they're trying to do something different now. I mean, there's a lot of really cool tents out there. You've got, the Z-Packs ones that everyone loves, but then you've also got Tarp Tent just came out with their Notch LI or TI. I can't remember which one it is, but it's a non-freestanding, so you've got to use your poles, and it's in the DCF Cuban fiber fabric, so it's super super lightweight. Um, but for me, I'll stick with the hammocks. Yeah, there are some people out there that have trouble getting a proper hang. Uh, they just need to go watch some of my how-to videos. So Outland, I'm with you. Never going back to the ground. Uh, I've got a bunch of different hammocks. I've probably right now got 15 different hammocks, and the problem that I have is I've got other ones that are coming in that I'm testing. I actually just ordered another Dream hammock, so I've got a Dream hammock Sparrow, I've got a Dream hammock Raven, uh, and now I ordered. I'm sorry, Dream hammock Sparrow, Dream hammock Darien, and I just ordered Raven. I've got chameleon, actually two chameleons, so I can do the double Dutch setup. I've got, man, that Warbonnet Blackbird XLC. I've got a couple of no-name ones that have been sent to me. I've got Cedar Ridge Outdoors. I don't know, just a lot of different hammocks. But when you find some that are super comfortable, it works. It works, and they're comfortable, very comfortable. Can't wait to see the trip. Yeah, so this one, I'm trying to figure out. I bought extra video cards. I bought extra batteries or new Anchor chargers so that I can make sure that I've got this thing covered. I'm going to take my laptop, probably leave it in the car that we're swapping out so that as we hit the car, I can upload the videos that I've got so that I'm not having to carry it all the time. So download it all or upload it all onto the computer and then head back out on the trail. But I'm not sure how many segments this is going to be. So there will probably be a prior to going into the thing, getting there, video, meeting up with everybody. And then I'm thinking probably 2 days at a time, which means 5 parts to this video. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if people are going to stick around for that. But I've got some pieces of gear that I'm going to be testing that don't get released until sometime in August, and I've been asked not to release some of the video on that, so I've kind of got to play around with that as well. I don't know. We'll see it. We'll see how it works out. Hammocks. Well, that's awesome that it's allowed you to be pain free. I've heard that. I've heard that from quite a few people. People with back problems that can't sleep on the ground anymore have kind of walked away from backpacking just because they can't camp out anymore. But then found hammocks and now can do that. So I think for some things, dude, it's pretty awesome that there's options out there that can get people who haven't been doing it for a while due to medical reasons back on the trail or back out camping. Tent only if it's a necessity. I don't even own a tent anymore. I sold my last tent, and I think if I was going to go out and have to do something, I would go with a tarp, piece of Tyvek underneath me, and go that route. Unless I'm somewhere really buggy, and then maybe a bug bivvy. But I don't know that I'd go back to a tent at this point. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe that's foreshadowing. Maybe there's a trip coming up where I'll need a tent. There was some thought of that. There were some trips we were planning that I was going to have to go with a tent, but luckily we chose one where I wasn't going to have to. I'm glad your Raven is working out for you, Lance. That's one of the things. I saw your video, and that spurred me on to go ahead and place the order. I had some apprehension. I'll say apprehension to the Raven. I looked at the design of it. I'd seen it out, and I wasn't sure how it would work. With the way that it goes underneath the hammock, how would that keep the bugs out? So I met up with Randy Indiana, Papa Smurf down in Texas at one of the hangs, and I laid in the Raven, and I moved around a lot trying to see if there would be any gaps anywhere, and it actually worked really well. It was comfortable because you're allowed to flip-flop either way. That was one of the things that it's pretty attractive So I'm gonna go ahead and get it, and I'll use it a little bit. I'm sure that my kids would like to use it. That way, they don't have to decide which way they lay. Um, Hey guys, I apologize for the interruptions in this. I don't know why my upload speeds have been pretty bad. I think it's because my kids are in playing Fortnite and they're killing it, um, killing the internet. That is starstruck. So yeah, we walk into one of the shelter areas, and first thing we hear is Gary, put a shirt on. Um, So I met up with Frozen from Outdoor Adventures, and Gary was with us, and Meerkat was there, and we saw Restless One out there at one of the shelters. But what was funny was just the way he yelled out to Gary. It cracked me up. But it was really cool getting to see other people out there. That was the first time. Now, some people knew we were going there, but that was the first time anyone had ever recognized me on the trail. So it was that was really really cool. But for those of you who don't know, Gary just got done, I think 127 days through hike of the AT. So Springer to Katahdin, 127 days. Dude is he's a stud now. Yeah, he went from being the guy that was kind of just out there. Uh, he's a full fledged through hiker at this point, so he's got more trail cred than any of us anymore. And now Frozen, he's gonna go and do it next year. I think he said like February 23rd or somewhere around there was his gonna be his start date. So really cool. Uh, so PCT, CDT, tent or hammock. So there's definitely sections of the PCT, CDT that you cannot do a hammock. So maybe half and half. You know, tents are definitely more convenient in some areas, but where I could get away with a hammock, I would try and do that just because I sleep so much better in them. So going back a little bit, Park in Michigan banned hammocks. So here's the deal with that. Um, I don't know how many of you guys saw it, but there was like a little bit of a controversy that came up on Facebook about a month and a half ago. There was a Colorado Springs news channel that had a park ranger on, and the park ranger really kind of bashed hammocks, talked about how much damage they do, laughed at people thinking that they could sleep out in them, and just talked about the damage and how bad they were to the environment. I, among several others, reached out to the news station and the newscast. Abby was the journalist who was doing the story, and so I reached out to her, and I was very very civil. Had a nice conversation with her. Went back and forth a few times, um, and she was extremely open to ideas and wanted to have somebody on that had a lot of experience. So uh, we reached out to the community, tried to find somebody that had hammock experience that could go on and talk with Abby and give a more accurate depiction of what hammocks do. So I think to tie in with the Michigan ban, there are a lot of misinformed people out there, and there are a lot of people who go out and hang that don't understand that there's some etiquette that goes along with it, don't understand that they can do damage to trees. I don't know how many times there's been arguments on Facebook in a hammock forum or a hammock community where people are talking about, rope is okay. You go out in the woods and there's barbed wire through trees that the trees recover, that you're putting no permanent damage to a tree. But it doesn't matter. It's the perception. If a place likes 2-inch straps, go with 2-inch straps. Do it for the sake of everybody else. But I think that some of the hammock manufacturers out there could do a better job. I think that a little bit of education, maybe a pamphlet that goes along with a hammock, kind of outlining some of the etiquette, how to get a good hang, places to go for hang calculators, and talking about our responsibility as tree dwellers to protect the environment and not cause problems for future users. Um, I think Eno and a lot of those others that have uh, different quality products could be part of the problem. Do I camp in the desert? Uh, I never have. I've never camped in the desert. I've had a couple of trips planned to the desert, and they've all fallen through for one reason or another. Hey, Outland, take it easy. Good seeing you. So you're a hammock camper, but you do have a tent for those other places. Uh, I was a tent camper up until I got my hammock, and so it wouldn't be that hard to go back. A year and a half, no, 2 years ago, we did a Smokies trip, and we had to go hut to hut or shelter to shelter, and that's essentially tent camping because we had to sleep on a pad on the ground, not in a hammock. So it's not completely outside of the realm of something I would do or been known to do. Um, but given a choice, I'll take the hammock every time. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. I'll give this another minute or so if anybody wants to throw a question up there. Um, yeah, so campsites, I think in established places, campsites with posts that you can hook up to instead of trees is a great idea. Um, but I think one of the problems with that is, and we've seen this where HangCon is, they have a lot of posts up. They've got a lot of posts, and those posts are actually, a lot of people think they were there because of the hammocks, but they're there for tying up horses. But there's a little bit of a liability problem when they purposely put in posts for hammocks and then the posts rot and they break. If one breaks while someone's in it and they hit the ground and then it comes down on top of you, there could be a liability issue there, and I've heard people talk about that in the past. But I do think it's a cool idea. Maybe some metal poles with hooks on them that you can just kind of clip into would be. I think that'd be the best of both worlds. So, Commodore, what'd you order? What kind of hammock are you getting? I appreciate it, man. I do this um, to kind of share some of the knowledge that I've gotten, and really, it started out. I just wanted to document a trip that me and the guys were doing. We went up into the Adirondacks. I did it. My wife was like, "Who the hell's gonna watch this?" It's like 30 minutes long. I put it up and got a really good reaction from it. So I I think it's cool. So Sierra Madre. Okay, cool. Thanks, Eric. Um, yeah. So did you get the new base system or the Stratos system or just the hammock? That's for Commodore, by the way. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think the Stratos system. If I had laid the opposite way, which is head left, foot right, the Stratos would have been a great system for me. But I just didn't have the confidence with any driving winds because of the way that it was cut versus the way that I lay. So if I was going to do it, I would go with the new base system. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool modular system that you can take what you want, leave what you don't want, and set it up how you need to. Yeah, I think that's a key, Eric, is getting education out there, um, and that's kind of what we did with this news channel in Colorado Springs. We found somebody that actually owns a like a kayaking rafting outfitter, but is a hammock camper, and she went on and they did a really good long segment where she had her setup set up and talked about it, talked through why you use certain straps, why you do things, when you could use a stand instead of going to the trees. So it was really a great thing, and I think more of that, more of the education, and if you see somebody, I think that's part of it is us as stewards of the trail, of the wilderness. If you see somebody doing something that's not right, don't be a dick about it and go up and say, "Hey, asshole, take that crap down." Educate them. Go in and say, "Hey, I see you've got a hammock. Dude, I've got a hammock too. So comfortable. Great to get out there in." But, a lot of people get this misconception about damage being done. If you use these things, and just kind of go that route, just start the conversation, start the dialogue, and don't be confrontational. I think it goes a whole lot further. It's the whole, flies to honey type deal. Right on. Uh, Ash beetle problems. Yeah, so anytime you're out there hanging, look up in the trees, look around, see what could fall. You don't want to be that guy. And really, we talk about it with hammocks. It's the same with a tent. If you're going to go out, you don't want to set up a tent under anything that's going to possibly fall on you. So look up. Look up, keep an eye out. Make sure you're staying safe. You don't want to be that guy. Uh, Life's too precious, and you've got so many more trails to go hit. All right, guys. Well, we're coming up on an hour, and I appreciate you guys checking in. Appreciate that some questions got flowing, and we were able to have a good conversation and sit out here and do this. I think there may be one more video prior to me heading out for my Whites trip, but then it may be a little while before you see one. We've got 10 days on the trail, and it's going to be a blast. I am so looking forward to it. A little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie. Being pretty flat around here, going to something with that extreme elevation. If you guys have ever looked at the profile, like the profile for Virginia, Georgia, New Hampshire, or North Carolina is kind of like this. So it's going along like this. You've got some places in Pennsylvania and New Jersey that are like this, and then you've got some more hills. And then you're walking along, and our first day is kind of like this, and then we hit Mount Moosilauke, which is like this. It's like a 6-mile climb to the top. The 4,000 feet of elevation gain over those miles, and then from there out, that 110-mile section is like this. I mean, it's not this anymore. It's I'm moving my arm. It's big. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna enjoy it, and thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you guys down the trail. Take it easy.